NASCAR. It's the sport that we all love to hate. It's arguably the most boring form of motorsports, and that's kind of demonstrated in the rapidly declining viewership over the last decade or so. But that being said, NASCAR's job, it's a sport, just like any other sport. And ultimately, it's a business, which means that they need to be entertaining, because the more entertaining the sport is, the more viewers they can get, and the more money that they can create. With that being said, you'd think that louder, faster, and nastier cars would pull in more viewership. After all, whatever will make the sport more competitive is going to make it more entertaining. You and I are watching this to see guys passing each other, to see occasional crashes, to see really tight and entertaining races. But NASCAR's actually done kind of the opposite. They've made their cars slower than ever, especially over the last few years. So the question is, why are they slower? What is NASCAR doing? And why is it like this? To quickly clarify, in this video, we're mostly going to be looking at the National Cup Series and the Xfinity Series cars. We're not going to really be looking at anything else. We're going to be looking at those two primarily. Obviously, throughout the years, the Cup car itself has evolved massively. What was once literally stock cars with no modifications quickly evolved into custom body tube chassis cars that barely represent the cars that you and I can buy. With the cars changing so drastically from 1948 up until now, speeds also changed drastically. To demonstrate just how much the speeds of NASCAR have changed, we can look at the average pole speed for intermediate, speedway, and super speedway courses throughout the years. More specifically, let's look at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Kansas Speedway, and Texas Motor Speedway first. This set of data comes from MRN, and I'll leave links in the description if you want to check this out yourself. I plopped all this data into Google Sheets, and some of these years include multiple races per track, which is why there's some funkiness going on the sheet. But as you can tell from this pole speed started pretty slow around 130 miles an hour. As time went on though, the pole speeds got faster and faster and faster. From 2000 to 2014, speeds increased a little bit, but not all that drastically. And 2014 to 2017 are definitely the peak years in terms of pole speed for these intermediate tracks. But from 2017 till now, something really interesting happens, which is that the speed drops drastically all the way down to similar levels as 1990s NASCAR. And for the sake of demonstration, let's look at a similar chart for larger tracks like Talladega Superspeedway and Daytona International Speedway. This chart is a little bit more all over the place as compared to the last chart, with speeds on these two big tracks actually peaking out in the mid to late 1980s. But regardless though, you can see that pole speeds have dropped since around 2015. Again, both of these charts include multiple races per year, and this is technically just two charts for 3 tracks and 2 tracks respectively. But it's not averaged out, which is why you have all this jaggedness in the charts. But the point is now clearly demonstrated in this data. So now the question is, why is NASCAR slowing down? Why did the cars used to be faster? Really, we need to rewind the clock a little bit to 1988. Where NASCAR introduced restrictor plates on all competitors' cars for Talladega and Daytona races, because those tracks are massive and speeds were getting really fast. Remember, 1987 was the fastest year in terms of pole speeds, and basically they decided that pole speeds upwards of 212 miles an hour was really getting out of hand. And this is following a bad accident in 1987 involving Bobby Allison, where he got a flat on Talladega, hit the catch fence, tore a massive hole in it, and then that injured a handful of spectators. Luckily, no one died, but it's this event in particular that prompted NASCAR to limit their cars, especially on these really big tracks, which is exactly what they did in the following year in 1988, as I mentioned. Fast forwarding up to 2013, NASCAR introduced the Generation 6 car, also known as the Gen 6 car, which was designed to look more like the cars that they're based on. And the hope was also that these new cars would be faster and grippier than ever. But the new package was met with a ton of criticism from fans and drivers alike. Jumping up to 2014, 2015, and 2016, NASCAR began implementing different types of aero packages with different levels of downforce, with the aim of promoting passing during the race to give fans a more entertaining and interesting race. Because again, you have to remember that this is a business, and the more entertaining and competitive the race is, the more money NASCAR makes. If you're somebody like me who's not particularly into NASCAR, this is where things get really confusing. because throughout these years, the level of downforce and the aero package that the drivers had to use were changed for different races, which means each race you're really not even watching the same car as the last race. They were quite literally changing the rules for the cars based on the track. For some tracks, they had high downforce aero packages, and some of them had low downforce aero packages. And again, it was done in an attempt to promote more passing, but it actually did the opposite, with many of these races having very little action, which ultimately annoyed fans and drivers. Now that takes us up to 2019, where we saw some changes to the powertrain, which is a horsepower decrease for tracks greater than 1 mile in length. For the small tracks and road courses, NASCAR allowed 750 horsepower, but for the bigger tracks, they choked them down to 550 horsepower, which is where some of the speed decreases become even more noticeable. Luckily, they are introducing a new car platform this year or next year, which will hopefully bring things back into a more entertaining form, as the new platform should hopefully have 670 horsepower instead of the 550 that they're currently limited to on those 1 mile or larger tracks. In terms of financial reasoning, decreasing power levels on the big tracks can theoretically decrease the chance of engine failure, which ultimately means less cost for the teams, which is a big benefit for anyone who wants to get into the sport. Ultimately, you're not getting into NASCAR unless you have a ton of money. So any steps towards lowering the bar to entry is a good thing. Really though, fans and drivers want less downforce and more power. That would help to make the sport more entertaining. So there's hope that this next generation car can help turn things around and make it more entertaining. Now, something I would like to note though, is that the pole speed itself isn't exactly an indicator to how entertaining the race is. For example, let's say you were at a race and the difference between 190 miles an hour and 200 miles an hour on the pole speed is barely going to be perceptible. So really, the decreased speeds aren't the bad guy here. It's more or less the aero packages that make these cars glued to the ground and make it harder to pass. Because once you hop out of the draft of the car in front of you into fresh air, all that aero is going to massively slow you down, making it very difficult to pass the guy in front of you, which is the exact opposite of what NASCAR is trying to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this short video. If you did, be sure to smash the thumbs up button. Let me know down in the comments below if you're a NASCAR fan and what you think about the Gen 6 car and hopefully this new Gen car. And hopefully we'll get some more entertaining racing. So let me know down in the comments below if you're looking forward to the new Gen car or if you think there's some other changes that NASCAR should make. Really, it sounds like a lot of the fans and the drivers literally just want more power and less aero like it used to be back in the day, but we'll see if that happens. Get subscribed so you don't miss out on future videos. Check out some of the other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.